Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. And my guest for the month is Kisha Steineger, and she is a Senior Care Consultant with Care Patrol. And you've got tons of great information for us. So first off, tell us about you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Carrie. I appreciate it. As you said, my name is Kisha Steineger. I currently live in Lawrence. I came here for college and never left. I have my degree in psychology and have been with Care Patrol for about 2 years, and the senior care industry for about 8 years. I got into this industry because my grandparents were really involved in raising me as a kid, and I just loved that generation and kind of wanted to give back. So watching them go through the process of, aging and whether we were going to move or bring in-home care into the house and remain there, I got to see them all go through a different stage and way of dealing with that. And so I felt like it was something I was capable of helping others with as well.
And I had gotten your name from Scott Sexton, and he was our co-host, or my co-host, in August, and he highly recommends you, by the way.
Thank you.
We had talked a lot about how to transition so that you don't lose assets and things of that sort. And so now we're going to be talking about the actual transition when you're ready. That way you're getting some questions answered. And, my age, we are getting to where our parents are the ones that we're having to do exactly what you did with your grandparents. And it's hard. So having some knowledge is great.
Sure. And the truth of the matter is no one's ever really ready. I've only had 1 or 2 phone calls from someone that said, I am just tired of living in my house and I want something that's maintenance-free and someone to cook for me and do my laundry. And I said, oh, well, me too, but you're the lucky one that I can find that for. Everyone tells me I still have a while to do that myself.
And it's so funny because I think right now I wouldn't mind that.
Exactly. We need to come up with someone that does that for the younger generations too. But it is hard for people to give up what they see as independence, and accept that maybe we aren't able to do things as well as we used to, and maybe it is a safer option to move somewhere where, there's a staff person on site 24 hours a day. So unfortunately, what typically happens is there's some sort of an event that leads a family to call me and say, we just can't do this on our own anymore. The biggest thing I would always tell people is if you can get ahead of that, it's much better to make that decision for yourself and, try and start at a lower level of help and care, and then transition to something, more in-depth and such later on. So you really get to enjoy it while you can and don't have to make those decisions under stress and pressure.
Absolutely. And in doing the show, I've gotten to know several different places and how they operate in the independent care. And I tell you what, Atria, whenever I went there, they like party more than my generation ever has.
Oh, yes, they do.
There are some partying people. So.
They have some wonderful events, and luckily, working with the community, I get invited to all those wonderful events, so I can speak to their luau's and, Oktoberfest, Oh, it's so much fun. They bring in entertainment and buffets and drinks and all kinds of things. And just seeing people, out there in the community having fun, too, is great.
Absolutely. They do, like, pie tours where they tour around, the country restaurants and stuff and basically compare them all. So I really think that if you look at it and you start moving towards, like what you said, at a younger, less pressured age, then waiting until you've got to go into that more in-depth care, and that's a huge transition. But in that phase where you're still in independent care, you can come and go, or you can actually, have them take you places because they take you to doctor's appointments and all of that kind of stuff. But I think the loneliness, from what I hear from clients, is the part that drives them to wanting to make that transition because their spouse has passed, their kids don't come around as often, or they don't live as close. And now all of a sudden, every day is about what is the cat going to do,
Yep.
And you can take small pets with you, so you don't have to worry about that. And so, being able to play bunco or checkers or, go walk with your friends and get to really meet a community, I think is really an awesome way to look at it, more so than I'm giving up something. I think you're gaining a lot, too.
You really are. And even things that are small, like in the wintertime when, your spouse may have passed away, or for whatever reason you can't or don't want to clean the driveway, or you just don't want to drive in those conditions, or after dark and the sun goes down at 5 o'clock and then you're stuck by yourself in a house, being able to go, nope, I get to go down the hall to dinner with my friends, or, the events that they'll have there. Some of them have movie theaters and all kinds of little things that they can do. So you're really not giving, like you said, not giving anything up. You're gaining friends and experiences, and I think some people really will come out of their shell, where they go, I haven't seen a friend or anyone in 2 months because none of them drive very often, and it's winter, and I miss people. I talk to them on the phone, and then they get in these environments with others, that are similar to them and active, and they just thrive.
And the other thing to really know, in case you haven't gone out, looking for yourself or your parents, most of these places that I have seen are like mini apartments inside of a large building. So you've got your bedrooms, you've got your living area, and you've got your kitchen, depending on, if you're going to burn the place down or not. Now, you probably wouldn't want to turn me loose with a full kitchen. But then you have your own bathroom, and then you can just get on the elevator if you don't want to cook that night and go down to the cafeteria or to the restaurant. It's not like a cafeteria style, but it's a restaurant. And order, they have a pretty good menu, even, the ones that I've seen. Or just get some ice cream, tool around, visit with people. So I would say don't look at it like a hospital, because in my mind, that's always what I thought until I got the privilege of going around and actually seeing the insides. So I think it's really cool.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that I hear from so many people is, I can't see myself going into a nursing home, grandma or mom was there, and to explain to them it is not what you think it is anymore. And granted, yes, there are some, once you get up to the skilled nursing type level, that is what you would think it is and what your mind has told you from the past, but not anymore. Independent living and assisted living have really stepped up their game and turned into your new home.
Let's just say, hey, it's time for me to really start talking to Mom about it, and I want you to come in and help her feel okay with it. Let's talk the process. What do you do?
Sure. So what I really like to do, especially pre-COVID, and I still am able to do this with a lot of my families, is meet with them in person. And really sit down and have a good conversation. We would call it a care discovery, but that's exactly what it is a conversation. I want to know, what do you like to do? What did you do for a living? I want to get to know you as a person, and then also, what are you looking for? What are your care needs, if there are any? Maybe you are the person that just really doesn't want to cook or do laundry and live maintenance-free and not have to drive. Great, I've got some answers for you. I just need to know what's important to you. Is having a full kitchen important in case you still want to cook sometimes, or does that not matter? Transportation, is that important to you? Do you need to have your own porch or patio, or is a community porch okay for you? So in that way, we're a little bit like you, Carrie, as a real estate agent. Just know what those, common things are, and then what is the seal it deal for somebody, and then the care needs part. There are a few things that really will tilt you one way or the other as to what level that you need and what's most appropriate to you. And then, of course, geographic location. Do you want to be, near your kids, or is, distance make the heart grow fonder? What's good, in terms of that. So I'll spend anywhere from 1 to, it's been upwards of 3 hours, depending on the family, with them. I like to meet with the client that I'm helping to move, and I try and always have at least one other family member there. Even being in my 30s, I know that I'll miss a few things someone has said to me, and it's nice to have someone go, oh no, she said this, or, vice versa. I'll get contact information, and then I'll take all of that back, and we have a system that will put it in, and that sort of spits me out a Netflix-style rated list of the most appropriate places within the geographic area that they're looking for. And we are nationwide, so even if, mom and dad are living in California and want to move to Kansas to be closer to family, we can assist with that. We just have someone from Care Patrol that's in California meet with the parents if that's possible, and then they transfer the information to me, and I'll take them or their families on the tours of the places that they're interested in that also fit within their budget, and kind of help them compare pros and cons to each, and do some hand-holding throughout the whole process until we find the right fit.
So what are the most common questions you get from people?
One of the biggest ones is the difference between memory care, skilled nursing, and assisted living. A lot of times those are kind of lumped into the same category, and they're really not. So assisted living is fairly broad in Kansas. We have some communities that are a light level of care versus some that, are practically a nursing home. So depending on what you're looking at for and what your finances are, that makes a big difference. The other big one is a home plus versus assisted living. So what that is, an assisted living is a licensed community that can provide nursing services. Nursing services can include bathing, dressing, medication management, and medication dispensing. And then a home plus is a residential home that was either built or modified to be a small assisted living. So they have, staff there 24 hours a day. That's typically a certified nurse's aide and a certified med aide, and then nurses a few hours each day and always on call. But they house typically no more than 12 residents total. Each resident has their own bedroom. Sometimes they have a bedroom and private bath, but it's not a small apartment. In an assisted living community, it is much more a small apartment with, 1 or 2 bedrooms or a studio, private bath, private shower, and those sorts of things. So those are a little bit more on, around the board. Memory care is a little bit more specialized. It's higher level typically than what assisted living is. The rates are a little bit different. So typically with an assisted living, you will pay your base rate, room and board, rent, that kind of thing. And then you have what they call a level of care on top of that. So you'll meet with the nurse when you move in, and they develop your initial level of care, which is basically, what do you need help with? Do you need medication reminders every day or a few times a day? Do you need help with bathing but you don't need help dressing? Do you need someone to come and get you for meals, or do you remember when that is? And those levels vary depending on the community, and then the rate goes up as your level of care goes up. With memory care, it is usually all-inclusive, so the rate itself is higher, but it's not likely to change aside from, your yearly cost of living increase. So that's kind of the biggest difference. in terms of, rates and care levels. They can provide most of the care that a memory care can in assisted living, but the rate changes. The other big difference is that memory care is more likely to be what we would call a locked community. So for someone who, gets very easily confused and might wander out, onto the busy street, the door is locked with a code so that they aren't able to do that without the code to get in and out. Assisted living is typically open door, policy and locked after 8 p.m. or after dark, whatever that may be.
Okay.
And then skilled nursing is the highest level of care, and that's a little bit more what you would think of in the old school idea of I'm moving to a home. It's sort of a hospital type setting, but necessary for, certain people, or if they need a legitimate, registered nurse or licensed practical nurse, LPN, on staff 24 hours a day, as opposed to just having someone on call.
Which makes perfect sense as far as I know, going to see my grandparents whenever I was young in a nursing home. My little bitty grandmother was 4'2", and she just loved everybody. She had to help everybody, yada, yada, yada. So she really would have been more primed back in that day. There really weren't options, especially where I grew up because it was such a small town. But assisted living for her, man, she just would have thrived, because that's totally would have been her scene.
Sure.
But what she actually got was that actual hospital type feel, because that's what the community had. So I could see why people associate those two and put it off as long as they do, even though, just like her, she would have just beamed all over the place because she just wanted to help everybody, and that would have been totally her thing.
Well, and Care Patrol, as a franchise and a business, we try and have people stay as independent as they can for as long as possible and preserve your assets. So unless I absolutely have to, I really hate to push someone into skilled nursing, especially before they're ready. It's hard for families to go and see them, or harder. It's much easier in a home-like setting. So unless you really have some severe physical, disabilities or financial constraints, then I try to do an assisted living or something like that first and make that our last, stop. It is also the most expensive, but it's also the one that Medicaid will pay for. So
makes perfect sense.
Kind of the catch-22 there.
Yeah, I do know that there are some facilities, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I know that Atria does, if you fought in a war or a vet that actually saw wartime, there are discounts or assistance that comes through the VA for that, correct?
Yes. So some of the communities will provide a discount. Some of the communities, like in an independent living, so Thornton Place would be an example, has a company that comes in and does care for some of their residents so that they can stay living there longer. And that particular company also offers a discount to veterans. And then there's a federal program called the Aid and Attendance Benefit that can be used for veterans and or their spouses once they need care. And that's an income-related benefit, but it can provide up to, I believe, $2,400 a month for the veteran and something similar or half that for the spouse. And that's a lifelong benefit that just has to meet a few certain criteria.
And it's really amazing at the number of people that don't know that that exists.
Oh, yes. And it takes a long time to get it approved. I have a few people that were still waiting on it, and it's been, 6 months. But things have been different for one, and then it's the VA, so things just take a little bit longer. You're really better off, in my mind, between Medicaid and veterans benefits if you have the means to get an attorney like Scott Sexton or someone else to help you with that. I would make your life easier and do that.
Which is good to know. We are going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back to talk more about this and maybe give you some ideas to get mom or dad or yourself in that path if they're ready.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. And I'm back with Kisha Steineger, and she is with Care Patrol. Before the break, we were talking about the differences in long-term care, assisted living, those types of facilities. And we also discussed the fact that there are veteran benefits. But before we go into any more of that, how did they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is to just call me directly. My phone number is 785-766-9005. You can call or text me. That is my mobile number. And I also have an email address, and that is ksteineger@carepatrol.com. And that is spelled KSTEINEGER.
So there you have it. We will do that one more time at the end of the show, just in case you missed it. And you can also check out my Facebook page, Preferred Advisors Team, and I will share this with Kisha also, so that you can find the information there also. So, what is the next step? So you've met with mom and dad and children, usually, probably, and you've determined where, or you've determined different options. Do you go out with them to view the different options, or what's the next step?
Sure, I do. So when I come back to meet with them the second time, I will bring a folder, which is a lot of the information I have emailed the family. That'll include basic information and pictures about each of the options that we've come up with. We'll narrow that list down, and then I will go ahead and take care of setting up the tours at whichever communities they're interested in. And I'll also have made sure with the community that they can meet my clients' needs. So I'm not wasting anybody's time on either end. I'll come and actually pick you up or meet you at a coffee shop beforehand for the tours. So I will accompany all of my clients for those. I typically allow the tour guide from the community to do, most of the talking once we get there. I'm a little bit more of a silent participant, but I'll remind my clients of what questions to ask, and we'll have gone over that beforehand, kind of in the car ride over. And then after the tour, I have my very favorite part, which is the parking lot discussion. And you kind of say, okay, so what were your likes and dislikes from there? And those are hilarious. I have to say, you will get someone that goes, oh, what was that smell on the second floor? All the way to, wow, I just want to try that place for lunch. Which is definitely part of the tours. If I can swing that, I love for people to get to try, what is on the menu and what they're going to be, eating every day, that sort of thing. And then I'll follow up with them, see, if they want to move forward with any of them, and pretty much protect my clients from, those sales and marketing people at the community, so you're not being hounded. 24/7 by those guys. And I hold your hand all the way through. I will help you with any of the move-in paperwork if you need that. I've been a notary, or not a notary, but been on the notary work paper as a witness for people before, so kind of all over the board. And then even down to, hey, I need some recommendations for movers or a downsizer. So I call it my little bag of tricks, and I keep a few cards, for different people I've worked with in the past and that my clients have liked and enjoyed. I'll help you through that, and then I keep in touch moving forward. So if your care needs ever change, I'll know. I also know then, of course, hey, if management at this place has changed and they used to be great and now we don't like the food because the chef is different or something like that, I'll know that going forward. Same if it's the other way around. So maybe a place used to not have the best reputation and they've changed a lot of things, and it's time to give them a new shot and someone else likes them now. It's kind of the same concept as looking on Google and seeing a review and taking that with a grain of salt versus as the biggest thing ever and going, well, did you know that's actually a disgruntled employee because I happen to know who that person is? And so just being able to weed through some of those things.
I read something the other day that said the absolute bottom feeders of the world are the ones that do the nasty comments like that, which I will say that there are times when that is absolutely, you need to know. And if you see a consistency, but if you see that one zinger or maybe those two zingers in there, those are probably two people that were impossible to please regardless of where they were. So. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we've all met some of those people and had to deal with them, too. I know in a former job I read one review, and it just so happened that I was in the office when that person was there because I recognized the story and, thought to myself and responded and said, actually, that's not what happened. You were let go for a reason, and I heard the whole thing. So
yeah,
it happens every once in a while.
So I would say go learn, see yourself. And I think it's great what you do because you're in the industry, so they're not having to fly blind on all of that. The kids aren't having to trust because obviously every place is going to put best foot forward. They're not going to show you all the skeletons in the closet. So
right.
Having somebody that has the ear to the ground and knows what's going on is really, really helpful.
Well, the other part, too, I'm able to call past clients if I have a new one that says, I just would like to hear from someone who has actually lived there or their parent lives there. Do you have anyone that I can talk to? And I'll call a former client and ask them if it's okay if my new client reaches out to them or if they would like to, and just give them an honest opinion. I'll say, you don't have to tell me what that is. If you don't mind telling my client what you really think, that would be great. And then you heard it from the horse's mouth yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that's the part that puts people more at ease than anything else. Because, I know when it comes to sales and what you were talking about with different people hounding you, what if you go to some place and you're like, listen, that's probably not for me, and now they're calling you every day? It's a good way to eliminate that. I will say I know a couple that were in the industry, and actually one just retired, and I couldn't love them more. They are such amazing people. But I could see how that would be. People talk about real estate agents like that all the time. What you will find for me is I'm not going to harass you. I don't have time. So I have time for my clients, but I don't have the time to call you 15 million times. It's just never going to happen. So,
sure.
And that's not how you want to create those relationships either.
No, because then they just feel forced.
Absolutely. So before we go, how do they get a hold of you again?
I am Kisha Steineger. That's Kisha. Last name is Steineger. I can be reached at my direct number, which is 785-766-9005, or you can email me at ksteineger, KSTEINEGER @carepatrol.com.
And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give us a call, 785-213-5188. Visit our website at preferredadvisorsteam.com. We have all of Northeast Kansas on our website, so it is very accurate. It's actually more accurate than Zillow. So go there first. You can set up your own searches and edit that as many times as you like. We give you a portal straight into it. So be sure and check that out. And thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.